Nate Eaton sat down for an absolute interview of the year with Daybell, and we're going to review, react, and talk about all the things in today's video.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup at hey.
Now hold on everybody, let's do a quick sofa sidebar now. Keep in mind, ain't no cop, ain't no doctor, ain't no lawyer, ain't no therapist, ain't none of that fancy credentialed stuff, okay? Only credentials we got up in here is my sass, and this sofa. Now keep in mind also, I'm just giving my opinions on very public information, so do your own research, come to your own opinions, and drop them off in the comment section. And while you're down there, if you do like what you see here at the Sofa Squad, drop a little like, drop a little comment, drop a little share. It helps the channel out immensely. Now let's get edition. Okay y'all, look, I ain't got time to play food roulette every night, okay? I'm usually either at the gym trying to keep this 47-year-old body from falling apart, or spiraling down some true crime rabbit hole, wondering if the husband really did it. And spoiler alert, he usually did. But you know what the real mystery is? Is how I ever managed to eat and stay on track and dialed in before I found Hungry Root. So I've been using Hungry Root for like, I don't know how long, a minute, right? And it's basically my alibi for why I am not surviving on those gas station protein bars that I am very guilty of. They fill your cart with personalized picks based on your diet. We're talking gluten-free, dairy-free, high protein. Hello, that's me. That's what I'm going to show you all this time. Or if you're just tired of thinking about food 24/7, they've got you. You know, they've got over 15,000 recipes every week to pick from. So, I mean, come on, do the math on that, right? So what I wanted to show you all this time was the 3 high protein, for me at least, clean eating meals that I food prepped and ate this week. They always drop the best, highest grade foods off at your doorstep. All these meats, Beyond Burger, chicken, filet, eggs for my snacks. Now this is a staple of mine. Absolutely love going with each meal. And asparagus, I love it. And it's always so fresh. Another thing I love about Hungry Root is they really vet out the ingredients. We're talking clean and no weird additives, no high fructose corn syrup, no meat that's been pumped full of who knows what, right? Another thing I love about Hungry Root is because when they send these portions for you, you can sit here, you know the calories, you can cook it up. And I treated myself this week. We did the filet mignon. Thank you very much. And hey, no matter what, I'm always going to be a meat and potatoes guy. I just have to learn to reel it in sometimes. We can't stay away from that rice now, can we? But 90 seconds, I mean, hello. Now look at that, y'all. This was so good. And yes, you know what? We do eat the filet off of a plastic plate up in here, okay? This is the Sofa Squad. But here you see this, whether you're cooking for 2 or just 1, that was my lunch like 2 days later. Absolutely love it. Clean eating, healthy, high protein. And these Beyond Burgers, y'all, amazing. We gotta have our greens. Let's just stir those up. Oh yeah. Now look at this, y'all. Hamburger and homemade fries. I mean, please, right? Come on. McDonald's has nothing on this. Look at that. Just look at that. Now these right here, y'all, I love these. They've got like nice little spice to them, and I'm talking good. Look at that. Number 2, Biggie Sass, thank you very much. Made it at home. Yes, it did. Yes, it healthy. Thank you. Nourishment. Thank you. And see this, I love the little crispy ways that the Brussels sprouts do in the air fryer. And that's the thing, I did all this in the air fryer, y'all. Oh, not all of it, you saw me cooking, but a lot of it I did. And the microwave with the rice. Such fast meal prep times, you cannot beat it. I mean, a lot of these recipes are like 15 minutes or less. Now here's the final product. Like I said, we ain't fancy, we ain't credentialed, we eat off plastic plates, we eat nice steak off that. Okay, y'all, as usual, Hungry Root is hooking the squad up, okay? Take advantage of their exclusive offer. For a limited time, you're gonna get 40% off your first box, plus, yes, there's a plus, you get a free item in every box for life. Click the link below or go to hungryroot.com and use code SOFASQUAD. That's 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life at hungryroot.com with code SOFASQUAD. Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. This is a sofa. This is a pillow. This is a ball. My name is Paul. If you're new to the channel, if you're not new to the channel, my name is still Paul. I'm sorry to say. Okay. Now, what we're going to be doing today is looking at, I'm talking true crime history interview, and this is between Nate Eaton of East Idaho News and Daybell. Daybell has recently finished up with her last conviction, her last trial, and the crimes against her children, her former nephew-in-law, her late husband, the late wife of her husband, Chad Daybell, numerous things things. These cases have gone on for years. Now, one of the people that was at the very forefront of it was Nate Eaton, and he had gone down to Hawaii when we were still trying to find Lori, where is she at, all that type of stuff. And he put a microphone in her face, as we will hear her remind him, and was like, where are the kids? Where are the kids? Where are the kids? So all these years have gone by, and finally Nate is sitting down with her, not like he's been holding off, but you know what I mean, to ask these hard-hitting questions. And hard-hitting questions he asked so many of the things that like we would sit down as viewers and ask. He's so in tune with what his viewers are in tune to. Now, this is also very scandalous. A lot of people were very upset at him for giving Lori more screen time, that type of stuff. I think it's very interesting, but not surprising that she chose to do the interview. I think we'll probably see more of these. I think she loves the attention, and I think she tells on herself throughout it. So what we're going to do, if you're new here, if you've never watched anything by me, we're going to watch the interview together. I'm going to stop and make commentary along the way. Obviously, as you'll see on the screen when it goes up, it's East Idaho News. You can go to their YouTube channel to watch the whole thing if you have not seen it without me just, interrupting and talking. So let's go ahead and just get started. Now, this first scene, look at her. She's coming in.
Hi, Lori.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
You ready?
Yeah. Are any of my people here? Oh, okay. Hi.
Good to see you.
Nate, such a pleasure.
Have a seat. And
Long time coming, huh?
Okay, let's stop right there for a second. Couple of things when she's walking in. Number one, this is the energy that I got from her. So when she's like kind of like didn't make eye contact, there was an awkwardness. Almost like that feeling like when you go into a situation where you're getting ready to have a conversation or something that you're uncomfortable with, but you're gonna do it. So you're just kind of like, oh, hey, what's going on? So that first like interaction was like, hey. And then she was like pretending to be busying herself with the people who are off camera and like, do we need to do this, do we need to do that? Then that handshake was a little bit aggressive. I thought that was interesting. And then her long time coming. Now also Lori, signature Lori, she's jumping in. She's not jumping, but you know what I'm saying. Smiles, giggles, all sorts of things, okay? As if this is just, a press release for her new album or something. Let's keep going.
it has been. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So I want to start with Chad.
Okay.
You told me years ago.
Today is my birthday.
Today is your birthday.
How old do you think that I am?
52.
Oh, how did you know?
I do my research.
You must know a lot.
Yes.
The girls are like, are you turning 25 in my pod? And I was like, no, I'm turning 25 plus 25 plus 2.
There you go.
Do the math.
You told me years ago Chad was the best man you've ever met.
Before we even get to anything with that, notice just the ego. One of these things when you're doing birthdays and stuff like that, it's like, oh, are you 25 again? Or you make jokes like that. But the fact that she asked Nate and then said that, well, a lot of the girls are saying, are you 25? And blah, 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 blah. The fact that she said that is very telling to me. And you see him, he's just trying to get right in there. Like, okay, Chad. Notice that Lori also will constantly deflect, like constantly steer things around to how she wants to do it. Because keep in mind, he only has, meaning Nate, a very limited amount of time to do this interview.
Chad is a very kind person, yes.
Is that still true?
Yes.
So besides his spirituality, what else attracts you to Chad?
He's a wonderful person. Everyone who knows him knows that. You've never met him, right?
I haven't met him other than when we were in Hawaii.
I'm saying you never met him, talked to him, interacted with him, or...
No. How often are you able to talk with him?
So we aren't really speaking...
By your own choice or just because it's not allowed from like prison to prison?
Yeah, like the way that the mail works here is very difficult.
I see.
So we're only allowed to get postcards. Like you can't send a letter to the jail itself. And so there's difficulties within that.
But you still love him.
Absolutely.
Now, this is what's also interesting. So remember, being convicted of killing her children, Tammy, all this stuff, right? And we'll get more into that as Nate brings this up. But when she was just like, no, we're not really communicating. Now, I'm not sure 100%, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think prisoners are allowed to write, and like inmates can't write other inmates. So I'm not sure. And Nate did a fact check to the end of this, but I can't remember if he went over that part or not. But I don't think that an inmate can write an inmate. So even though I don't doubt that like the mail system is probably difficult for her and whatnot, like I think she would have to literally get Chad to send a letter to somebody and then that person send it to Lori because she's so high profile. I think she would have a difficult time doing that. But again, you saw where she kind of was a little bit forlorn, or I'm not sure the right word, when even bringing Chad's name up.
And you've said you'll be exonerated and he will too.
Absolutely, we will.
Will that be before he's executed?
Yes, Nate. before he's executed. You're well aware, I know that you are LDS as well as I am, right? And you're well aware that the 3 Nephites in 3 Nephi 28 were given the death penalty 7 times. They were arrested after Jesus personally translated them, okay? They were arrested, convicted, and given the death penalty 7 times. And where are they today?
I don't know.
They're still wandering the earth.
Yeah.
They didn't get executed.
So
they didn't get the death penalty. And there's 220 people in this country who have been on death row and have been exonerated and gone home.
Okay, so immediately, well, number one, she saw she kind of got angry. I'm like, yes, Nate, before, if you didn't know. And then she's like, you're LDS like I am. And I'm just like, are you? Like, I don't know if they're still claiming her, right? Didn't they kick her out on the first night, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Then when she goes into that, immediately starts trying to align herself with biblical, I'm not sure if the word biblical is correct, but what I am interpreting as biblical characters, biblical narratives, biblical stories. So, I mean, the cringe is off the charts, but also the delusion, because throughout this, when we watch her, I mean, this is just what she does. Like, she just gets so deep into the religious talk, it's uncanny.
Do you think it'll be soon then?
I think it'll be in the Lord's time. I know that it will be in the Lord's time. And when you say the word soon, if you've ever watched The Chosen or dealt with Jesus at all, you know that soon is a relative term, because 1,000 years are a day to him.
So does it bother you, though, that in Chad's trial, he blamed it on you and Alex?
So now that I know the judicial system, and now that I have been my own attorney and how things work, and, I've said this before in an interview, it's so different what goes on behind the scenes in a high-profile case. Okay, there's strategies going on, there's defenses going on, there's all these things going on that you wish, like, why can't we just go in and tell our side of the story?
Now, I don't doubt that this part is true, right? We've watched a lot of high-profile cases. We've seen what takes place. Again, I always will reference The Staircase is one of the first ones where Michael Peterson allowed cameras to come in and we saw what went on behind the scenes. So I have no doubt that the things she's talking about, like, where people are vying for political things, 100%, right? The judicial system is not perfect. However, okay, with what she's talking about here, I mean, the evidence kind of speaks for itself. And there are 2 things can be true at one time, right? To me, we're not dealing with somebody this is clearly an innocent person, but also over here, we have, a corrupt, slimy judicial system going on, right? This is a guilty person and the evidence shows it, and you can still have people vying behind the scenes. I'm not saying they did or whatever, but like with what she's trying to say, that can still be going on and not be great, but somebody be clearly guilty. I think what she tries to relate it to is, if we could have just gone in there and told our story from the get-go, people would have seen it. Now, whether she truly believes that or not, I have no idea.
The attorneys are like, you can't do that. We have to come up with the defense, and we have to do this, and we have to do this. And like, why don't we just go? Why isn't it, you thought, like, if you've never been in the judicial system, which I hadn't before, you thought they get to tell their side of the story, what they think happened. You get to go in and tell your side of the story of what happened, and then the jury gets to decide. And that's not what happens. That's not what happens at all. And it's so sad and disappointing that that's.
So you think, Chad, they had to come up with a defense just to have one in court? You don't think he really believed or blamed all of this on you and Alex?
Absolutely. And I know that for a fact because John Brier came and told me that prior to trial.
He did. He said, this is going to be our defense.
He said, I'm going to blame you, and Chad doesn't want me to, and he wants you to know that.
Now, again, this has happened plenty of times where, like, the defense is like, especially when you have, and I'm not trying to say her and Chad are family or whatever in this context, but when you have family members and stuff like this going up and people are having to throw each other under the bus and the lawyers having to do their thing, I mean, it only made sense when we were watching this unfold. It was like, they're going to blame Alex. Like, why wouldn't you, right? He died of natural causes. That's a whole other story, but regardless, he's not here to tell his side of the story, and there's so much evidence that points towards him. Now, the other part is because he was so messy, he pulled everyone else in, right? Thank the Lord. And they are all messy, but I mean, Alex, come on, right? Ouch. I don't doubt that Chad probably went to her and was like, hey, I don't want to do this, but because watching this play out too, Chad never seemed, to me, he seemed more like, once this popped off, it was, oh golly jeepers, we're caught. I am never going to have Lori again. Like, he kind of sobered up. And Lori was like, oh, we're just getting started.
And this is the kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that nobody sees, that nobody knows what's going on. There's so much stuff going on that you wouldn't even believe all the things that go on. The experts that are being paid, the things that are going on. We got this expert, we paid him $1 million to say the opposite of whatever your expert's gonna say. Like, what do you mean they paid him? The state paid an expert $1 million retainer to say whatever the opposite of what our state, what
in
our witness.
Arizona or Idaho?
In Idaho. Was what our witness is going to say. And the attorneys told me this, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like,
You didn't have any witnesses.
we did. Yeah, in the buildup, we did.
First of all, I love how Nate just stops. You didn't have any witnesses, right? Like, he calls her out on all this stuff, but the whole thing, I do remember this. He did say that that was not true, I believe, or he was going to fact check it or whatever, but $1 million is pretty excessive, right? I mean, now, mind you, if she said $100,000, I probably wouldn't have batted an eye at that. But again, we see this play out for both sides. That's the thing with expert witness testimony, and because each side typically is putting forth something. Now, the difference, though, is most of the time, from my non-professional perspective that I watch it, is the defense's experts are usually a little bit like, really? How much are you getting paid? Whereas the states are more like, this is their job, it's what they're doing. Now, that doesn't mean that they can still be whatever. Again, I'll reference back to it. The staircase, that one dude, Dwayne Deaver, or whatever his name was, that lied and botched up all the blood evidence to try and but make him look more guilty, Michael Peterson. So you can still have people doing corrupt stuff. So I'm just talking about like kind of a blanket statement. But again, this is the dramatics of Lori. This is like a good insight and viewpoint into how she makes everything bigger than it is.
But then
We absolutely
you didn't
did.
call him.
Well, there's reasons for that. That there's strategies involved. There's things going on, and you have no control when you have attorneys.
And that's
They're
why-
doing it how they want to.
And that's
do
why
it.
you wanted to be your own attorney.
There's several reasons. The number one reason was because they wanted me to sit here for 5 years while they got to know the case. And I wanted a speedy trial.
Can we go back to Hawaii? When I first met you and Chad,
And we didn't meet. You just put a microphone in my face.
Okay, so that part right there, let's start from there. You just put a microphone in my face. I mean, but that is what happened, right? And Lori's not shy to say that, and he's not gonna be shy to answer her. Now, also when she's talking about the whole thing about like, I wanted to be my own, attorney and blah, 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 blah. She'll say this, she's staying in a pretty, like, notoriously, the Arizona prison system is a little bit rough. I think also a part of it is she's like, I wanna get back to wherever I was coming from. You know what I mean? Like, I wanna just be done with this. I wanna get to prison. It's easier to be in prison. I can do more stuff, like whatever the case is. So I think part of it was that, and I also 100%, you can sit there for years fighting these cases. So that's no doubt to me either.
okay, when I put
Now we've met.
we have met, you're right. Why didn't you just tell me where the kids were?
Because I was not ready to talk about it at all at that point. I was just not ready. It was very traumatic, and I was not ready for any of that.
Are you ready to talk now?
I have talked about it already, yeah. I feel like a lot of things have happened in these last 5.5 years to give me strength through that tragedy that happened with my children. And I've been a lot more open in being able to talk about it now, and through therapy also, like some post-traumatic stress therapy, because
This is the beginning where we're talking about the kids and all the Tylee and JJ and all this. And notice how when he's like, are you ready to talk about it now? She's like, I have talked about it. She has a way of never answering the truly difficult questions or deflecting or going into religious like jarble, right? Of just like, blah, 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 blah. And so this right here, the word tragedy, PTSD, and this, that, and the other. And this is, I'm not downing those two things or whatever, except in context to her, right? Because I'm just like, but this is all self-induced, and Nate will call her out on this stuff along the way. But this is where it begins the process when she talks about the kids, where there's such a distance in her. I don't even know what you call it, her awareness, her body language. There's not one sense of, God, what a terrible thing. Nothing, right? Even if you went with somebody else, killed it, whatever she's trying to say, not one sense of like sorrow.
it's traumatic. And I'm living in here with some beautiful, intelligent, smart women. And had I never come to Arizona, and I know God put me here for a purpose, because I didn't think Arizona was going to come and get me. In fact, I think you and I had a talk about that, because there was an article that came out in Idaho saying that Arizona was not going to come and extradite me until all my appeals were finished. Do you remember that? And I think, and then my
It's
appeals.
like the next day that you were gone.
Yeah, the next day they came and got me. And my appeals attorney was supposed to come. He had an appointment that day when they came to get me to drive down from Boise to Pocatello for us to have a meeting. And they didn't even tell him I was gone. Like, I was just gone that day. They came the next day. So I didn't think they were coming.
You mentioned a tragedy, and you said that this has all been a family tragedy.
Yes.
And it has been a huge tragedy.
Absolutely.
All of this.
Absolutely.
4 juries have said you and Chad and Alex caused the tragedy.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into that, so this is a huge thing. This is like with Nate, this is one of the things where it's like, thank God he's asking this and using that word tragedy, family tragedy, and then the 4 courts and all that. Now, also her whole little thing where she's like, oh yeah, the appeal at court, and then they came and got me, and then they did this, and I didn't think I was coming, and There's this like moment of lightness that shines through in her, and I'm not saying like, angelic, but just like her guard comes down and she's like, oh yeah, like she's conversing with Nate like normal. She's not poised. It's like these glimpses of that. And that's what makes me think that it's like, where is the real Lori? Do we ever see the real Lori? How much of it is a mask? How much of it is a facade, an act, or all the above?
That's the judicial system.
But how do you argue with that if all of this evidence came out that showed, that you, Chad...
The only evidence that ever came out is the evidence state wanted to put forth.
Well,
They manipulate the evidence to make it look however they want.
But you
And
could
guess who
present
helps
evidence.
them? The media helps them, because from day one, when someone called you, day one, whether it was Detective Hope or Detective Hermosillo, I'm not sure, called you and said, hey, Nate, Eaton, this is going to be the biggest story of your life. And they got that information from Heather Daybell. And Heather Daybell and Detective Hoper are connected, right, because their kids got married. And they called and she said, oh, I have a story for you. These people killed their spouses so they could get married, which was totally a rumor,
I don't think
totally
that's true, Lori.
untrue. And then you ran with it and you got famous from it, and everybody knows what happened from there, right? So that's the way it goes. So the media put out their narrative. They kept on with it. The state went along with it. The state leaked stuff to the media to say what they wanted.
What's false about
Oh
the
my
narrative?
gosh, everything.
Let's pause there for a second because this is getting so much. So this whole thing where she goes into this thing about like, I made you who you were going to get famous off the case and And here's the thing with like, and if you want to call it, whether it's true crime or crime headlines or high profile cases or things like this, I mean, there is a truth to this, right? Because it's like, okay, I mean, Nate started following this case from the beginning. So he really kind of came, I mean, he was already doing his thing, right? But this is like a major story, okay? And so there's truth to it, but the way that Lori tries to break it down, she always tries to come at things holier than thou, but also, and I don't know the analogy how this goes, but like her back porch isn't swept clean too. You see what I'm saying? There's this sense of she's enjoying this attention just as much. She's enjoying telling Nate that she made him famous. She's enjoying this being a case. She's enjoying talking about herself in this context. If she didn't want to do any of this, we wouldn't hear from her. Have we seen Chad in the media like this? No. Right? I'm not trying to give him accolades or anything like that, but it is what it is. If you look at some of these other cases with people, or maybe somebody did something that they are truly regretful over, or maybe somebody did something that they're not regretful over, but they don't care about the attention. They don't want it. This is a new level. How many interviews? This is Jodi Arias. Like, remember Jodi Arias doing all these weird interviews? It's like, why would you do that? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we doing this? I feel like this is Lori right here, and I can't remember what video it was, but essentially it was like, let's see what she does next. Is she going to come back out? Whatever. Well, here we go. It's like days later. Do the math on it.
Your children were found dead in Chad's backyard. That's not wrong. Tylee was chopped up and burned. That's not wrong.
No, that's all mixed up. That wasn't.
I saw photos of JJ wrapped in plastic and duct tape. That wasn't wrong.
Okay. I understand what you're saying of those facts. Those facts in and of themselves are wrapped around a whole lot of untruth.
About how they ended up there.
Correct.
So if Tylee killed JJ and then felt bad and committed suicide, how did she die first?
She didn't.
Pause. These right here, these questions he's asking gives me goosebumps. I mean, these are the things that, like, if one of us was sitting there with Lori, we would be like, well, what about this? This is where Lori gets like, her tone has changed. She's answering differently. She knows that this is like tread lightly, right? This is very choppy waters for her because it does not make sense, the story she's trying to sell at all, okay? Because the number one, just one of the reasons that Nate just said, the obvious, okay? But there's so many other things going on. But with Lori, she's gonna sit there and do that. Now, pretend for 1 second that that is legitimately, we're dealing with a whole other case, right? That is legitimately what happened. You would expect to see some level of sorrow, of something from Lori. And I'm not even trying to get into the whole concept of like what I expect someone to act like in a moment of grief, that type of whole thing, because we're all different. But you would expect something different. When we start hearing her talk about the other inmates, she gives more concern and compassion and empathy to her fellow inmates in her unit or whatever it's called than she does the kids. It's so bizarre to me.
She didn't?
That's part of their whole fake narrative. That's
Who
part.
burned her and chopped her up?
That's part of everything that they were doing. So I don't really want to get into all of those details with you because you obviously are very set in your mind. I'm not here to change people's minds.
I want you to change my mind. I'd love to hear any evidence or facts you have that might make me think, you know what, they have it wrong, but I haven't heard anything otherwise.
So that part right there where she's like, you know what, you're biased, you're this. Lori knows, this is why I think that she knows what she's doing, but she's just playing a little game of like fake news kind of a thing, because she skirts around it and changes it like, nope, those are the wrong narratives. That was this, that's what they were doing. Eventually, as we'll see, just go off on a religious rant or whatever. You can't deny the evidence, right? I mean, you can sit here and say, well, maybe this happened or maybe that happened. The horrifying pictures and imagery that he is describing is a fact. So even if she's trying to say, well, Alex and them helped him, you know, to help try and cover up this or whatever story she's coming up with, no one's buying it.
That's because you've been pushing this narrative for 5.5 years. Do you not telling me that your mind is not set on what it is already?
Minds can change.
They could change
Right.
if they're open to change.
Right.
Okay. So miracles are on the way. And you remember I asked you to watch a movie?
Yes, Evan Almighty.
I did. And did you watch that movie?
I did.
And did you identify yourself with the reporter in that movie?
I don't know if I identified myself with. Did you identify him with me?
Yes, absolutely.
So what does that mean?
Okay. So when did the reporter change his mind?
Remind me.
When he was floating in the flood on the ark. Okay? Not until God showed the miracle did his mind change. His mind was like, this is a crazy guy. He thinks he's like Noah. Why are you so crazy? He's pushing the narrative, right? He pushed the narrative. And then the flood came.
Poor Nate. Poor Nate. You know this part, he's sitting here like, okay, yeah, maybe, yeah, whatever you say, Lori. This is what I'm talking about though. All these analogies, all these lessons, so eager to teach everyone else about morality and lessons and gifts and miracles coming, but yet so seemingly morally bankrupt herself and living in complete delusion. But I don't believe she lives into such a delusion that she is unaware of what's right from wrong, because I felt like if that was the case, we would see a different narrative, almost like there's just something different that comes with a behavior where you're just completely unsettled and right and wrong doesn't matter anymore, if that makes sense. I don't see that with her, but of course, I mean, who am I, right? This is the thing here where Nate's very patient. You know, he's going along with it and whatever, just, you know, to get the story, right? I mean, can you blame him?
And he's the first one screaming. And he's screaming and he's running for the ark because he had been pushing this narrative the whole time, right? This fake, false narrative that this guy was crazy, that God didn't talk to him, that all these things have happened, right? That these weren't God things that happened, okay? So then he's the first one to get on there screaming, and when he's floating down the river on the flood is when his mind was changed. So when you're open to changing your mind, I will be happy to enlighten you to the things of God.
I mean, can you imagine sitting there and her saying that to you? But there's also the level where I feel like she has to go that route, because if you didn't go that route, the only other answer is, I've participated in killing all these people, 2 of them which are my children, right? So it's almost like you would have to live in a land of delusion in order to get through the days after what you've done.
Well, I would love to hear what
sure
you
you
have to
would.
say. I wish we had more than 30
I
minutes.
wish we had more time too, because
Okay.
we could really get into it.
A couple of more questions for you, and then I know that you have some things you want to say. The night before Alex died, he told Zulema, I think I'm their fall guy. Was he?
No, absolutely not. And I don't think he ever said that. I watched Zulema go through probably 13, 14, 15 hours of detectives grilling her. I've watched the interviews. I've watched them all. And I watched her be berated by them, threatened by them, that they're going to arrest her, that she had a part in this, that she's a co-conspirator, and all this stuff until they got her to say exactly what they wanted her to say.
I mean, are they that wrong, right? If you haven't followed this case, Zulema's like I call her Earth, Wind, and Fire. She was Alex's wife of a few days, and just, look her up, right? The interviews are next level. But one of the things that's tricky about this case is you had a lot of people who were surrounding, or who Lori and Chad were surrounded by, that I personally think Lori felt like she could manipulate and gaslight them and groom them to get what she wanted out of them pretty easily. And so they were complicit at a lot of stuff, even if it was just crazy talk that's not the kind of stuff you would want to go out there and be like, hey, this is what I did this weekend to the general public, because people would be like, huh? Well, especially if you were, in the LDS church, whatever, like it would be like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? So the Zulema interview is like crazy, but again, you see Lori's interpretation. They said this and they said that, and that's not to sit here and discount that goes on. We already know law enforcement not all law enforcement, but forced false confessions happen, right? We're gonna put this over your head, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. These things take place. And it wouldn't surprise me if they did do this. If they were like, hey, look, because this could very well be true. Melanie Gibb to me would fall in the same category. Melanie Pulowski, right? A lot of them, it's like, how did you not get charged with something?
And she made that up. She made up a lot of stuff. And I felt bad for her because I didn't want her arrested, because she wasn't part of any conspiracy, because there wasn't any conspiracy. And I felt really bad for her. I do love Zulema.
Did you and Chad have anything to do with Alex's death?
No, absolutely not. We were very surprised. No.
What were you and Chad and Alex doing in the storage unit, moving the tire and the seat back and forth on the day that Brandon was shot at and the day after?
So that's so silly that is. So there was stuff in my garage that I was starting to move into the storage unit. That's what we were doing. And so I moved that stuff in there.
But the tire on the Jeep?
I moved stuff that had been in there. It was just sitting in there. It had been sitting in there. So I didn't have enough room to park. So I couldn't carry it. It was heavy. So I had Chad help me put it in. And the next day, Alex was like, where's all that stuff in the garage? And I was like, I went and put it in the storage unit. He was like, oh, I need that. So we went and got it. And that was it.
I don't know why I'm sitting here mimicking her. I'm like almost like also trying to see what it's like to, it's just right? No, but here's the other thing too. She's had all this time to go through, especially since she's been her own lawyer, to go through all the evidence and like answer each question. But this is just stuff in my garage and I put it in there, and then notice this right here. Alex is like, where is that stuff? I need it. Again, the low key throwing him under the bus, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent, it only makes sense to blame him because he's obviously the one who had active hands on the situation, but he's not here to defend himself. Right? So there you go. That's why they had to almost like put him on trial to tie everyone in. And I'm not trying to sit here and tell Lori and them like, oh, they didn't have anything to do with it. But from a defense tactic, of course you're going to sit here and do this. And she continues to do this. She blames everyone else but herself.
Can you see how, let's say you're not here. Let's say you're at home and you find out about this story and you do all your research. You go through all the court documents. You watch the trial. And you're watching another woman going through exactly what you're going through. Can you see how it sounds kind of crazy what you're saying, like the fact that this was all a coincidence, or you were just moving stuff in and out?
Yeah, because the narrative has trained the people.
But if you did your own research,
the narrative has trained the people. I have people come up to me all the time in the jail. I know everything about your case. I've watched everything, and they have every fact wrong.
But aren't you in isolation? Are you able to talk with other inmates?
Yeah, you have no idea what it's like in there. Okay, I'm in max security. I'm in PC, which I didn't choose to be, but they put me in there for safety reasons.
Tell me what PC means.
So, protection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Protective custody.
Protective custody, yes.
Okay.
And so I'm in a max pod with all the other women that are max. So there's like 8 women in my pod that are facing the death penalty. Okay, we're all in rooms in there, and we are all in there 23 hours a day, and we get 1 hour out a day to take a shower and clean our rooms, and that's how it is in there. But all of our doors have openings so we can talk to each other even through the doors. And so
it's interesting how she gets so excited to tell this part. She's like, oh yeah, you didn't know what that was, or whatever. You know, she starts going into it, and I wonder if she's being dramatic because she knows that he really knows how it works in there or whatever. And that's part of it. But then also, like, I'm sitting here imagining, because the part we're getting ready to hear her talk about is, you know, when she goes to court, those people are screaming at her, but these people are like, I know everything about your case. I know this, I know that. Well, obviously this isn't true. We know this because nobody ever knows all the facts of the case. Honestly, probably sometimes not even the culprits, right? Because there's so many other things that go on. But they always hold back stuff is what I'm getting at. Now, also with Lori, you know, one thing that I wonder is when you look at how people convicted of the crimes that she's convicted of, specifically with children and whatnot, and they go out to prison or whatever. However, in this situation, it's almost like it seems as though, I think she said there's 8 of them in this room and they can basically talk through the doors. You know, that is a psychologically crippling thing for a human being. You know, imagine being there for year after year after year, you're locked down like this, whatever. So it's almost like, regardless of what somebody did, whether you agree with it or not, it's almost like this mental survival technique or tactic or something that the brain would go to where they're going to gas her up, or yeah, girl, you got this, whatever, because they're so isolated, they're so this. And a lot of what Lori comes off to me is someone who's been just left to their own thoughts for too long, like in that space, you know what I'm saying? Like just stuck in there, and they've convinced themselves of this. And so the stuff that she comes out with, where it's like so easily shot down, you know what I mean? Where it's like, well, this isn't addable or whatever, but that's her only world, is this little room and like the evidence that she scraped over. And it's like, no, but you know, that wasn't my stuff. We moved it to the storage and then this happened. But she doesn't see the bigger picture of it.
So I'm not isolated. But when I am transported to court, like for my 2 trials, right? I'm with the women all day long that don't normally see me. So I'm friends with everybody in my pod, but other women will shout out to me that, oh, I know everything about you. I know everything about your story. And they've been so indoctrinated by the media and their narrative that they put out. And nobody was asking me what's happening. Nobody asked Chad
I tried
what's
to.
happening. Well,
This whole part always gets me when she's like, they've been so indoctrinated by the media. Coming from Lori, who's been so indoctrinated by whatever she's been indoctrinated by, right? That's the part that you just want to shake them, because it's like they're literally projecting all of their issues onto other people.
would you have listened then? You have to.
Absolutely. I wish you
You
and
need to be on the boat, Nate. Are you on the boat yet? Because when you're on the boat, Nate, I am going to be happy to share all this stuff with you, because miracles are on the way.
I wanted to
Miracles are on the way. And when you're on the boat, that's why I sent you that last
video.
message. Well, I sent you the last message saying, when you're on the boat, you'll be ready.
So
When you're on the boat.
you say Jesus is your friend.
Absolutely.
Jesus loves me this time, for the portal told me so. You know, Jesus is sitting here just crying over that right there. This is like where she wants to align herself with Jesus, with this, with that, with the other. She, I think, does think that highly of herself. I think she believes that. I really think she's convinced herself that like she is like a deity.
Does he support cheating on your spouse?
We weren't cheating.
Does he support killing your husband?
I didn't kill anybody, ever.
Killing your kids?
I didn't kill anybody.
Killing
as you
your
know.
boyfriend's wife?
Okay. Was I in Hawaii when Tammy died? How did I kill her? Are you going to explain that to the world now? How did I do that?
Using your kids' money while they're dead?
Okay, all that is messed up too.
How
That's
did
all
how
lies.
how did you rent that unit in Hawaii? With
That's
what
all
money?
lies. Chad rented it. I did not
Chad
rent
didn't
it.
have any money until Tammy died.
Chad rented it with his own money.
Okay, this is the part right here where I think Lori does numerous things here. So like this part right here, like pretend that Chad rented it, but it was with the kid's money, that he was like taking it or whatever. She tries to play this like, no, that wasn't me. In her world, I think what she is trying to convince us of is she is wrongfully convicted. Like it is almost like, what are you talking about? Like the people died. Like what are you talking about? She does not see at all, or chooses not to, or she's gaslighting the like absolute way that this would never happen normally. Like all these people want to just die and get murdered with zero excuses to how it happened.
Okay.
Chad was an author and a publisher and had his own company.
So
that's what I'm saying. You're
He
getting-
made $30,000 a year. with
No,
that
but you're
company.
giving up facts that you don't. You're giving up whatever the state put up. They don't put up the whole story, Nate.
And that's-
they just put up tiny pieces to put together their own narrative. That's it.
This part, Chad was an author. Where's my damn cup? Is this it right here? Well, it's not the one we need. You know what I'm talking about. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough. He's an author. Honey, you'd be lucky to rent an Airbnb off his book sale. So, you know what I'm talking about? This whole obsession with that. You know, he is self-publishing gold. I'm talking about the most elite self-publishing companies are after this man. You don't know who you're dealing with. That's my man. He's printing books off left and right. Okay, that printer, it don't stop at Chad's house. Okay, that money machine, it don't stop at Chad's house. Okay, sorry. I'm going off on the tangent. I haven't gotten out much this week, y'all. I haven't gotten out much. I'm not lying. It's showing too. Let's keep going.
You don't know anything about our lives or how they were or what we were doing in the temple.
Yours?
What we were doing in the temple every single day.
While you were in the temple, while Tammy was still alive, you were in the temple with Chad.
Several times, yes.
Right. So he's married to Tammy.
Correct. Tammy came to the temple with us too.
The three of you.
At some points, yes.
How many times?
Probably twice.
When is this narrative going to come out? When are you saying the full story is going to come out? Like your side, what really
So
happened?
I have I'm writing it. And I'm going to write out every single thing.
On a damn napkin, I can almost assure you of that. We just got Sherry Papini's book this week. We don't need another one. Imagine if Chad's Kids was like the self-publisher of Lori's book. Can you imagine? She was like, yeah, we went ahead and dusted off Daddy's machine in the back. We're just going to start firing copies off Lori. We're going to get this story out. We're going to get your truth told.
Every single thing from beginning to end so that people can really understand, because you can't understand what happened with Tylee and JJ unless you understand what happened to Tylee in her life. You have to know Tylee's whole story from beginning to end. And when you know what happened in Tylee's life, you start to understand. The understanding, the lights click on. But nobody has said that. This lady got up in Idaho. It was 1 year after I had been arrested, and it was going to be Tylee's birthday. And there was a lady in Idaho Falls, and they were having some kind of vigil, and it was on the news because I was in a pod by myself at Madison County, right? And I'm watching the news, and this lady comes on, and she says, oh, you know, it would have been Tylee's 18th birthday because she died 2 days before her 17th birthday. And then she said, it would have been Tylee's 18th birthday today. And if Tylee were here, she would be out with her friends, and she would be singing and dancing, and she would be doing all these things. And this is a lady who has never met Tylee, never knew her, never knew anything about her life or our life. And I was like, do you know how many of Tylee's birthdays we spent in the hospital with her screaming in pain while she's on morphine, and the morphine isn't enough to take away the pain?
Wait. Are you really blaming this all on Tylee?
No, absolutely not.
Y'all, here's the thing too that gets me. Okay, so we've heard enough about this of her talking this, that, and the other, and thank God Nate said that about you really blaming this all on Tylee. Okay, I get the part, like if you want to be non-biased, like, okay, yeah, people stand up and like, oh, well, you know, they would have been doing this, and like for people that don't know anybody, okay, you know, noted, whatever. However, it's pretty safe to say that you can sit here and surmise that if someone was still here whose life was taken in this fashion, they might be doing something better. Anything would be better than that what happened to her, right? But also notice that Lori doesn't even take this moment to say one good thing about Tylee. Notice throughout this whole case, and I'm mostly thinking of Lori and Melanie Gibb, especially Melanie Gibb. She would even talk about Tylee. Her face would be like, yeah, Tylee. Oh, she was very rude to her mom. Like this energy. And Lori, it's like not as direct the face scrunching, but there's this weirdness about it. You know, and I would want to hear from Colby, Kresha, Larry, Kay. Was Tylee this miserable? She makes it out. You know what it reminds me of? Okay, so remember how like Kurt Cobain from Nirvana would talk about like, you know, the pain of his stomach, like all this stuff about constant. It's almost like she's trying to equate it to that of like, she's in constant pain. She's in constant pain. How she arrives at this Lori is beyond me. But again, that's what I'm talking about, where it just gets me that this would be a moment, even if it's been years fast forward that it happened, and you're able to kind of like move past the initial emotional like trauma of anytime you say the person's name, you start crying, whatever. But you would get almost like this inflection of something, and it's just not there.
I'm saying Tylee had a really hard life, and people don't understand.
So how does that tie into her death and your son's death and Charles being shot and Brandon being shot at and Tammy's death?
Okay, all those things connected, right? It's a domino effect. So in 2017, I was told by the Lord that I was going to become like Job and lose everything. Will I do this job if I lose everything?
You saw how she gaslit and turned the conversation. She was told by Job. Immediately lost me. I was getting ready to take notes. I was like, okay, we're going to do a timeline. Let's go, Lord. Let's make these dominoes. Let's restructure them. Let's see what took place. What brought the dominoes down, all right? Okay, 2017. You had a portal conversation with Job. Okay, well, we're off to a pretty shaky start there, I would say. Let's keep going.
And so this domino effect of things happened. This is all the Lord's doing. And guess what? He's going to come forward and tell it all. And I don't have to. But I am writing it all down for posterity. I am writing it all down because you know what he told me? You know what Jesus told me? He said, this is going to be real good scripture reading in the future. So if you go back and you read the scriptures and you find all these stories that were going on, what do you think is going to happen? These are the last days, right? We believe that. You believe that, right?
When can I get a copy of this? Because I want to read it.
But you're gonna, the whole world's gonna get to read it. I'm working on it.
This is the basis of why we're at where we are at now. That right there. She thinks that she is gonna be in scripture. She thinks, whatever, 100 year, 5,000 year, whatever. That someone's going to be sitting here talking about, okay, well, back in the ancient days of the early 2020s, there was a Lori Daybell. It says here in this stone tablet where they carved it out. Yeah, so Lori Daybell, and she was on Wheel of Fortune, apparently. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe some ancient devil talk. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, yeah. And I love Nate. When can I get a copy? She's like, well, I got chapter 5 written on a piece of toilet paper in the bag. You want to read it? Well, go on. It's clean toilet paper. It ain't being used or nothing. Oh, Lord, I can't with these people.
I work on it every day. Jeff's like, what are you doing in there all day? I was like, I'm writing. It's coming to me. I'm writing.
When you were on trial in Idaho, didn't you say that Jesus was going to be back before the end of that trial?
Okay, who said I said that?
I'm asking you, did you say that?
No, absolutely
You never said
not.
that.
I have never, Chad has never, we've never given a date or a time. The prophet...
Where'd July 20th
Somebody made that up and put it on there. I have never said it. Chad has never said it. We've never had a date. We're going with what the prophet says. When President Nelson gets up and says, these are the last days, we need to prepare for the second coming. We need to gather Israel on both sides of the veil. That's what we were doing. That's what we were working on. And we wait for his timing. The Lord has his own timing.
I love how also when she tries to drag Nate and his religion into this, he's very cut off. He doesn't entertain it. He doesn't go with it. He doesn't that is one thing too. Like, remember if you followed this case like in and out, whatever, like remember how in the interviews, so think Melanie Gibb, and she was talking to, and I cannot remember the name of who all was there at the time, but I felt like in the interview, Detective Hermosillo was there, but maybe he is not LDS, but the other detective that was there was. And so Melanie kept trying to have this thing of like, hey, we're like kind of intertwined here, aren't we, baby? I mean, could we have like us talk? Oh, Detective Hermosillo, you don't know, and that's okay, bless your heart. We're going to be conversating over here, okay, in the temple or the veil, whatever it is, we're doing. That's what we're doing. And Lori tries to, like, they keep trying to pull people in around them, and it's just like, no, not the time and place at all, right? Absolutely not. But this is what Lori just keeps going with and keeps going with and keeps going with. And again, it's almost like, here's the thing. If you're sitting here and like you were convicted of all this type of stuff, and if in your brain you know what you did, right? Who cares if you're trying to deny it, but you knew what you did. Even if she does truly believe like, no, wait, this is like, I mean, I'm doing this for the, whoever the big one is in her world. You would have to almost sit here and think like, wow, I'm a pretty terrible person. So let me like gaslight everyone around me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would almost like pivot you to be in that spectrum of so defensive all the time. You would be giving these narcissistic tendencies like Lori seems to be doing. Now, of course, am I a doctor? No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know all this stuff, but it's just what it feels like.
He's never early. He's never late.
Why has
His
Chad been
timing
excommunicated?
is great. So I think that was false too. That was mean. That was mean.
To excommunicate him?
Absolutely.
Are you still a member?
As far as I know.
Okay. So, Lori, if you could go back 6 years.
Yeah, please, someone help me. Please, she cannot still be a member, right? Like, I mean, they have to be excommunicated. Please, somebody confirm. I mean, we need this information.
Yeah.
Ago.
Yeah.
June of 2019.
Okay.
Would you change anything that's happened over the past 6 years?
Oh, that's a good question, Nate. I don't think I could, because
could.
we were foreordained to do this mission, right? The Lord is using Chad and I right now, and this is what he's told us, as instruments in his hands. What do you think he's trying to teach the people, especially his people, his church? What do you think he's trying to teach his people right now while he separates the wheat from the tares? He has to have an earthquake. It has to be so detrimental. It has to get everybody's attention. Our case has done that. And what is he doing with that divide? He calls it, you know what Jesus told me? He calls it the great divide. What do you think he's doing with it?
That tells you everything you need to know right there. Can you change anything over the last 6 years? No. Wouldn't change it, right? Not real happy with the results. Literally, the ego, religious narcissism, I don't know. I don't know. There was not one thing of like, oh my God, if I could get my kids back. Oh my God, if I could get my life back, my husband, all the things. No, it was, this is for a mission and we're on this mission. So focused on being the main character. That overrides everything in their world.
I don't know, but
He's teaching people not to judge. Don't judge something. You weren't there. You don't know what happened. Don't judge. That's what he's doing. And he's separating the wheat from the tares right now in his own house. And he's using Chad and I to do it.
And she is thrilled to death over it. Wipe out everyone I know. I'm happy to be the star role.
So what if you end up going to Pocatello in a few weeks
Yes.
and spending the next 30 or 40 birthdays
Right?
there behind bars?
That would be God's will, but I'll tell you right now, that's not going to happen.
It's not
It
gonna
is
happen.
not going to be 20 or 30 years. No, it is not going to be 20 or 30 years. I will testify to that right now.
So if it's not, how about we meet every year on your birthday and we do a follow-up interview and you can give me the timeline?
Absolutely. I don't have a timeline other than what the prophet has said. Did you watch conference? This last conference? Did you watch it?
Are you able to watch it in here?
No, but
Again, it's just this. And I think one part of it, I don't know enough about this aspect. Like, so take the crazy Lori stuff out. I don't know enough about like the LDS or Mormon faith or whatever to know the dynamic of like the end of days and like we're here and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like obviously she has gone way off the deep end on a lot of stuff, but she's taking kernels of like things that might be true. So for example, me just completely making this up for lack of knowledge on my part, the end days are going to happen in 5 years, let's say. So in her world, she's not only being like, okay, well, we're going with that fact, right? We're going to go with that. That's going to happen. So yeah, I'm not 30 birthdays. What are you talking about? Like, no, it's like totally done within 5 years. But on top of that, Chad and I are going to be, this is the role we play in that, you know, the whole shebang, right? That she's deriving from this. Now, if that doesn't happen, she'll just change the narrative. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, you know, that whole thing that took place last Tuesday, that like derailed that whole plan. Oh yeah, it's like another like, maybe like 7 years and 3 months, but like somewhere in there, okay, totally.
I was
Did
at
you
the
read it?
prison. At the prison, I was able to listen to it because on your tablet you have AM FM radio, so you can listen to the whole thing. So I got to listen to it the last time before I came. But they did have one. They have one. I think it's a 2023 conference on our tablet here. So I've watched it over and over. But all the prophets, all the apostles, everyone in the LDS church is saying, prepare. Gather Israel on both sides of the veil. I was going to the temple. I went to the temple every day for like 3 years. I was doing all Charles' family's work. I was doing all my family's work. I was gathering Israel on both sides of the veil. And Jesus came there. That's his house. And he talked to me and he told me that he needed me to do a mission for him. And this is what we're doing. And the media has turned it all around.
But I mean, my question would be, so it was the mission to kill your children? Like, why is she justifying these murders and deaths with that and saying, no, it's okay, Jesus wanted us to do this, which I don't believe. But number two, the way she's like talking about the whole thing, it's almost like somebody who was playing Dungeons and Dragons and never left character. Or you know how they talk about like actors who will do, and I forget what the method is, where they like live that life to become that role, to kind of like really get into it, but they never come out of it, kind of a thing. That's what she seems like. Like she was going to temple and doing all this type of stuff, and she was like off in fantasy world of some sort, going way off wherever, and just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper and never came out of it.
But it was supposed to be. You know, there's always a Judas. And I almost used to think of you as the Judas.
Me? Was I on the dark list?
No, but this is what I'm saying. There's a Judas. People think that Judas is a villain. And Judas is not a villain. You know what Judas was? Judas was a vessel.
Honey, I can assure you she's got a new list going in her little cell, and Nate is #1 public enemy on that list. Okay, she's got a whole new list going. We're beyond dark and light spectrum, whatever they were doing. We're on a whole new list. And Nate, honey, I hate to tell you, we'll look out for you, we'll help you, but you're on that list. Whatever she's making, whatever she's doing, you're on it, okay? Don't believe her little cackly smile, not for 1 minute.
Judas was a vessel for God's plan to come to fruition. And he told me the other day, it's coming to full fruition.
God did.
Yes. So when we are, just like he told Noah, who was what? Steve Carell in the movie, right? So God came there and talked to Steve Carell. Is that true? In the movie?
Yep.
And the media guy didn't believe him, right? This guy's crazy, right? God didn't talk to him, didn't tell him to do it, didn't tell him to build a boat, buy all those lots, make his wife mad, spend all his money, build a boat, because that whole thing was going to get wiped out, right?
The way she keeps grilling Nate about this damn movie, you would think he's in high school with an English project or something to do, right? She just slaps some questions in here now, and the right? And he's like, hey, God, I only watched it like really quick before I came in here. You know, it's just like, come on. But I think he's also just like, what is she talking about? Like some of this stuff where she just goes on and on and on. I don't doubt that Lori has something going on, right? But not in the context of knowing that right and wrong. I don't think she's that delusional. I just think that she's delusional, if that makes sense.
God has told me lots of things, and this is one of the things that he told me. He's using us as instruments in his hands to separate the wheat from the tares.
Did you ever think...
And people are choosing. Do you know how many people have left the church over our case? Which, what does our case have to do with the church? Nothing. Has nothing to do with the church. We're not against the church.
Did you ever think you'd have the title of convicted serial killer?
I love that he followed that up. That whole rant with, did you ever think you'd be called a convicted serial killer? You know she was punching air over that one. You know she's over here, we're not against the church. I don't know why people would leave because of this. You think? Okay. Honey, definitely the LDS church is not sending her likes around to knock on doors and recruit. I can tell you that much, right? I mean, this is a definite, thorn in the eye, if you will, okay? I mean, please, of course they're not against the church. They want to belong to anything they can. They're still claiming this. Now remember, she's sitting here talking about, I'm in my cell listening to this and that on my AM, FM. This is all she does. She probably doing her like courts to the last, especially Brandon's case, she was in here just going off on whatever stuff she's listened to. She might have rolled around from time to time to feed and to be like, well, let me come up with a motion or something. But other than that, I think she was glued to the stuff and sitting there just going down these rabbit holes more and more and more. It's like, and I think any human, you can say this for any human being, we're social creatures. Even though like somebody like me, I'm like, I kind of like being at home with the dogs, by myself, whatever. But we are social creatures, right? So locking somebody away, especially with her who just tends to just roll down whatever rabbit hole she's going down and believe it. This isn't good.
No, do I?
Well, for people...
I guess you could technically say that, but everyone in the world knows that I didn't hurt anyone. I've never hurt anyone in my whole entire life.
Well, years ago, everybody I've talked to, your friends, family, say you were a great mom, so much fun, loved to dance, loved music, loved to travel. You were the light of the party. And here we are in a jail. How did you get from there to here?
God put me here for his purpose. And so you know who he needs? He needs somebody who's the life of the party, somebody who teaches the girls how to work out, somebody who teaches the girls how to have fun and dance and do all those things in the worst jail in the country.
So you see again how she just took that and turned it around to God did it and put me in this jail to teach these girls something. But if you use her logic, so it's like, but then why did Tylee and JJ have to die? But again, I know I keep saying that and it's just like, but she has a reason for it, but which she won't say because it implicates her. But you see where I'm going with this? It's like, So your kids had to die so you could be in jail teaching the ladies how to do some yoga? Okay.
He needed somebody to come in to the worst jail in the country and strengthen these women. And I'll tell you what happened. We used to have this wonderful lady, and she used to come in, and she's from mental health. She used to come in on Tuesdays, and she'd be down there, and she's blonde, and she's really cute, and she's really fun. She's bubbly like me.
Honey, if she was just coming in on Tuesdays and that was it, she won't come in enough. Okay.
And she would come down there, and she'd try to get the girls to work out and give them coping mechanisms and talk to them about stuff like that. And half of the girls didn't like her. They thought she was annoying, and they were waking her up and stuff like that. Because you know why? She wasn't one of them. She wasn't one of them. But you know what I have? I have 7 lifetimes. I have worse.
So you're on your
punishments.
7th life now?
No. I'm saying I got 5 life sentences in Idaho.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
I've got another one here and another one here
I was
pending.
talking about the multiple probations.
No, I'm talking about
your sentences.
You gotta love Nate. Oh. Are we talking about the multiple probations? Oh, you mean the life sentences. Oh, sorry. It's hard to tell.
I'm sentenced to 7 lifetimes right now, basically.
Why didn't you
right?
tell all this to the police?
So,
Why didn't you tell them all this when you were arrested? Explain this to them. You know, God's told me to do this. Give your defense.
really? What happens to people when they say God told them to do something? They lock them up.
Well,
I'm locked up.
well, whatever the reasoning, if you really did think Tylee was responsible for this, why don't you tell the police? She had chronic pancreatitis. JJ had autism. All of these things.
All of these things.
Why didn't
She
you tell
was sexually abused by her dad from the time she was 3 years old and forced by family court to go to him for 10 years. You don't think that was hard on her? She was in the hospital all the time. She had chronic pain.
Why not tell the police all this?
At the very beginning? Or what are you talking about?
Whenever. I don't think you've ever talked to a cop, have you?
Here's the thing, and what we're getting ready to see is how she deflects and moves the conversation on, because these are logical questions with the stuff that she is saying, right? This is something that any normal person would ask, like, if this is truly what you believe, and this is, Tylee did this is what happened, why didn't you say this? This is what always takes place. Well, look at Sherry talking about, look, I wanted to wait the 6 years and conviction later to let y'all know. It was actually James that kidnapped me. I was afraid, okay? I was afraid. Scared, yes, scared and skirt. Both of those at the same time, so that's what I'm coming for now. And it's like, it's always that story. Always that story.
You know when I called the cops? I called the cops 2 times in my life. Guess what happened to me? I called the cops when I was pregnant with Colby, and his dad had beat me up, and I had a black eye, and I was thrown down the stairs, and I was 8 months pregnant. You know what they did? Nothing. They did not help me. And the second time I called the cops is when Colby was 10 years old. And we were at church, and we came in the car home, and he told me how Joe had molested him. And he didn't want the same thing to happen to Tylee. She was only 3 years old. Okay? I called the cops. And guess what I did? I called them and I said, hey, this stuff happened. I don't know what to do. They said, we don't care. Call the county where it happened. So I called that county. And I told them the whole story, like, my son just came to me, he's 10 years old, this happened, blah, blah, blah. They said, we don't care. Call the county where the perpetrator is living. So I called that county, and I said, this is what happened. And nobody would talk to us.
So on this whole thing of, the things that she's claiming Joe did to the kids and this and the other. Now, I, at this point, don't know, and drop in the comments and let me know if that was confirmed in some fashion that those events truly took place. I don't know about that or whatever. Obviously, it's horrible if it did. So it makes me wonder if she's sitting here with all this, call the cop, whatever, taking maybe authentic stories and saying that. Now, again, I don't know if all this was confirmed, but another point that I'm getting at is we often see in these domestic cases where it's almost a scenario of like, no, something really horrible has to happen before we'll do anything. Not to say that what she's claiming wasn't horrible enough already, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we hear about this, but me not knowing if this is confirmed or not, it's almost like, okay, so but in Lori's situation, fast forward, whatever, she's sitting here using that and saying, well, that's why I didn't tell them about what happened to Tylee and all this type of stuff. And it's almost like, aren't you kind of doing a disservice to people who might authentically have gone through that by saying like, oh, I didn't call the cops because of blank, but it's like, yeah, but you ended up killing your kids and stuff. Like, this is like a bad comparison to be making here with said example.
And then the county finally called me back where it had happened, where we had lived previously, and they said, okay, come in tomorrow, bring the kids in, and we'll forensically interview them. Okay, so we did all that. I did everything that the cops asked me to do. And then when I was in there, they said, after they met with Colby, they interviewed him for 45 minutes, they interviewed Tylee, they came out, they said, Colby met all the criteria we use to prosecute, and we're going to prosecute him, and we're going to keep your kids safe. And then they did nothing. And Joe hired a criminal attorney, and they did nothing. And he never got indicted, and nobody ever even looked him in the eye and said, did you rape your children? And for 10 years, the judge told me that if I didn't take Tylee to him every other weekend and 30 days in the summer and every Thursday night, that she would put me in jail. If I was late for one visitation of dropping her off at a dad who was raping her in the middle of the night, that I would be put in jail if I didn't abide by that.
Did you have anything to do with Joe's death?
Okay, now before we get into Nate's bombshell question, can anybody confirm this? Is this true? I mean, I don't know enough. I know what she's talking about from the case, and I can remember like Colby had talked about this at some point, but I don't know the ins and outs to this degree, if that is true what she's saying. Because again, because it's Lori, my inclination is to be like, this is exaggerated or mistruths are put in here. But again, I don't know.
No.
Did Alex?
No. We didn't even know. We were living in Hawaii. We had come back. Tylee was forced to go to him for 10 years by the courts, hated it, came home and cried, screamed, kicked, hit Colby, hit Cole, hit Zach, scratched him, yelled, threw things through the walls, was a nightmare, had night terrors, never slept at night. Tylee never went to sleep before 3 o'clock in the morning. She's 5 years old. She can't go to sleep. I have to stay in bed with her till 3 o'clock in the morning, rubbing her back because she can't sleep, because bad people wake you up in the middle of the night to do bad things to you, mommy. And so Tylee was a nightmare. Charles thought she was a brat. I didn't discipline her. Then I was in the hospital with her, watching her scream and writhe in pain while she's on morphine because it doesn't work.
Again, don't know if this is true or not. If it is, God knows that is horrible. It's almost like Lori is trying to, instead of bring light to anything good about Tylee, it's like she's trying to do this opposite thing of giving excuses why she was better off dead. And almost that way, as we know, Lori's trying to say that, you know, Tylee unalived herself, right? Which we know is, I wasn't there, okay, so I'll say that. But we can probably surmise that was not true. But it's the tone that Lori is doing this in. It's like she's trying to just be like, yeah, she's better off. Yeah, that's what it was God's plan. Her life was so tragic. Her life was so this, her life was, you know, whatever. And that's the part that feels so off about it. I mean, amongst other things or whatever, is the way that she's just running and running and running with this. And again, it's like, now I'm sure that the court's like, yeah, well, you're not going to be saying that because probably there's no proof of it, or it's not relevant to this particular thing. I don't know, right? Because again, like what Nate said, it's like, well, why didn't you say something about that?
I've interviewed several jurors. You may have seen the interviews.
I haven't seen any juror interviews, none.
And
I have no access. I'm in here 23 hours a day. I'm in max security. We don't have access to anything.
Well, they
so I haven't seen anything for a year and a half since I've been over here.
They've said they were disappointed that they wanted to hear from you, that you didn't have a defense, especially in Idaho.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If I get up on the stand and Trina Kay's sitting there, or
Rob
what's
Wood.
her name? Lindsay Blake, Rob Wood, right? And they're sitting there. Are they going to let me tell Tylee's story on the stand? You know they're not. They're going to object every 2 seconds.
If it's relevant to the case.
I'm writing it out. No, they won't. Because they don't want me to tell that story because it's opposite of their narrative.
But again, their narrative is they killed the kids. And I think one thing that Lori does, and I think this could be said with any, you know, just like with Sherry Papini and the recent stuff coming out with her, whatever, is when they're left alone with their thoughts and their case and their paperwork and all this, they can go through and rake through it and come up with excuses for every little thing. So Lori is probably able to sit here and say they do not actually have any definitive proof of exactly what happened to Tylee. Almost like this. There wasn't a video camera there to record it. Alex is dead. Chad is still here. So I can kind of say whatever took place, right? Because it's my personal belief, Paul belief, that Chad and Alex were out at the thing and they I don't know how this went, but basically they killed her and did what they did to her out there, right? They both did that. Again, that whole thing about shooting the raccoon, I think that's what they did. So Lori, I think, has gone through and made up excuses for every little thing, and then she's selling it, chest out, like, yeah, you did it, yeah, they don't know us, blah, 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 blah. And she might very well somewhat believe it herself at this point.
It crushes their narrative.
But
it crumbles their narrative.
But
it's never going to be
you know,
what it is.
as a defense attorney,
Yeah.
You present your defense. So you would have witnesses that would come in and would testify to the things you're saying and would give
I
evidence
love it,
to
Nate.
that.
You're just as naive as I was, and I love it. Because guess what? I found out as a defense attorney, this is what happened with Judge Boreski.
As a defense attorney, where's my damn cup? I've needed it twice now. You know what I'm talking. It's not even here. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough. A defense attorney. She loved that. She's like, yep, I've been charging a soup and a honey bun, doing motions, just trying to put food on the table.
This is what happened. They don't let you put on a defense. Do you know how many motions I had on, or not motions, do you know how many exhibits I had on to get ready for us to present our case for the first trial?
How many?
We had 33 exhibits. We put them up there. Trina Kay went up there. She gets to look at all your exhibits, right? This is how it works in law. She gets to look and see what all our things are, what we're putting up. Guess what I had? I had about 5 interviews with one of the cops who said, I have to get Lori on something. I have to find something to charge her with. I have him saying this on video.
Which cops?
Okay? Detective Moffat. Guess what happens? So I have 4 of those are my exhibits. I'm waiting for Detective Moffat to get on the stand. The state says they're going to put on Detective Moffat. Guess who they don't put on at all?
Moffat.
Detective Moffat.
Well, there you go. Complete sofa side note. Absolutely not relevant. Every time they said in this case, Detective Moffat, you know what I think of? That Silence of the Lambs. Remember the original one, the Moffat thing? She goes to the storage thing, Jodie Foster. Wasn't that Moffat, the name? It's like, can barely remember my name, right? But I'll remember Moffat or whatever from Silence of the Lambs from forever ago. Now, one thing with Lori talking about this too, so let's reel it back in. Let's recenter. Let's get back in the portal. So one thing with Lori talking about this, it's like, yes, I get that. Like, that can be frustrating for anyone involved watching cases, or if you're the defendant or the prosecution, having to constantly object and do this and do that, and it moves it very slowly. But like we've seen with Lori, I think there's a difference between getting up there and being new and fresh and having to kind of be coached through by the system around you as to how to navigate being your own lawyer, and then just kind of get up there and talk about whatever. You know what I mean? Talking about like, well, I'm going to go off on this tangent about Tylee and this, that, and the other, talking about, look back in, 2012, we got a lazy Susan to put on the kitchen table, and then I started filling it up with stuff or whatever. And it's like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, why are we here? How did we arrive at a conversation about buying a lazy Susan and putting it on the table with spices? Not that she said that making, being dramatic, but just that kind of nonsense, right? And that's what Lori ran into a lot, where it's just like, how are we here? And she kept trying to do the whole ring the bell thing so the jury at least heard it. And again, it's frustrating because I just think in this last case especially, I felt like the prosecution and the judge were like, and I'm not saying they were unprofessional, but there's just a level where they were like, make her go away. Please make her go away.
They go around you, and then the judge didn't let me put in one exhibit, not one.
What if you had
He didn't let me put one exhibit on.
What if
not
you had
one.
waived your right to a trial, though, and given your legal team another year or so to go through all of that? Don't you think that would have helped your case?
No, not at all. Because guess what my team said? They said he wouldn't have let us put it on either. There's so many jobs, so much political aspiration going on behind the scenes in a high-profile case. There is no way in heaven that they were going to let me get up there and win as a pro per client. Because you know what? It's like a virus in here. Do you know these girls that are treated so bad by their defense teams that are making $1.5 million a year while they sit here for 8 years, 10 years waiting to go to trial? There's girls in here that have been in here for 10 years. Do you know what happens when you have a toothache in this jail? They pull out your teeth. So tell me how it's not prejudicial for you to go into trial with 5 of your teeth missing and you look like a homeless person and the jury's there judging you, right?
This is what I'm talking about. If only she had fought for Tylee's reputation, for Tylee's memory, and the way that she's fighting for these other inmates. It's like with the passion. With Tylee, so we were out a minute ago, I was talking about like there's just something that feels off the way she's talking about Tylee, like she's making excuses why she's better off dead or whatever. This is what, look at this segment we just watched, and then go back and just keep that other one that we watched already in mind, and like a comparison. The difference in them, where she's like, do you know what they do to these women? And with Tylee, she's like, oh, she had a horrible life. Horrible life. Oh no, we're here on a mission. This is supposed to happen. It doesn't make sense. And it's not supposed to, obviously. But that's what Lori, I don't know if she has the wherewithal to understand that it's like, girl, when people listen to this right here, they notice these things, right? It's not a cute look.
And because you've been sitting in a jail that doesn't have any dental for you for 8 years waiting to go to trial.
You mentioned a virus. Were you really sick?
Oh, I was so sick. Yeah, I really was sick.
You weren't putting it on a little bit in the wheelchair?
Not at all. I couldn't
putting your
even-
head on the table in the courtroom? You were really feeling sick?
I tried so hard not to throw up in court. And Jeff can attest. So Jeff had the same virus I had. We had been working till like 8 o'clock at night getting ready for trial. The next day, when I went Thursday, he calls in sick. He's sick in bed, can't lift his head, he's throwing up. Okay? Friday at trial, we were picking a jury. I threw up at lunch and told the judge, I was like, oh no, I must have the same thing Jeff had. Jeff missed my whole trial because he was sick for 10 days in bed. Was so sick. I've been incarcerated for 5.5 years.
Y'all, I love that he asked that. Were you really sick? Oh my God. Oh. I'm talking explosive diarrhea. I'm talking blowing chunks. I'm talking all the things. Jeff was loped up for 10 days. It wasn't a tactic or anything like that. I love that Nate was like, are you sure you just want like being a little dramatic with the wheelchair thing? No, not at all. No, I mean, and again, if you've been following me for the death cap mushroom trial thing, if you're sick, you're sick. It's never a good feeling. I get that, right? Can you imagine being truly sick, okay? Like pretend, like just think you're sick. And it's like, well, yeah, we got to will you into court today. You got to pick out a jury. I'd be like this. I'd be like, look, what do you call that? A proxy vote or whatever like that? I'd be like, look, y'all. I mean, you can prop me up in there, put a little broom behind my arm so I'm standing up here like this, like, hi, yes, I'd like to object to this juror. But I'm going to be decked out. I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be snoozing. It's going to be an involuntary thing. But I personally do not think that Lori was that sick. Am I Lori? No. Was I there? No. Am I this guy Jeff? No. So I wasn't there, so I can't say. It's just my little opinion.
I've only ever been sick one other time, and that was like a really severe headache that I thought may have been COVID or something for like 10 days. I've never been this sick. And you don't have any access to anything. Like, you don't have access to medicine or food or anything that you need. I was so sick. I had an infection. I had to get on antibiotics. And the medical here is ridiculously horrible. They did a test on me. We're supposed to give me antibiotics. They didn't give it to me for a week. I didn't start them until a week later than I should have started on them.
Do you feel bad about anything that's happened? Do you have any remorse? Any apology, anything?
Bad about anything that's a really broad question.
It is a broad question. About the past 6 years. Any do you feel bad about it?
Do I have bad feelings about anyone?
Not bad feelings. Do you personally feel bad or feel some remorse for the victims in these cases?
None of the people are victims. So
are you the victim? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying I'm a victim at all. I'm not saying that at all.
How in your right mind could that be your answer to that question? The way that she's not willing to acknowledge any of that. She is so convinced that all of these people died to prop her up to be something that it's like she's not even, or at least she's pretending. One of those. I love the questions that Nate is asking. Love these questions.
I'm an instrument in God's hands. The victims that you call victims are not victims. Tammy died of natural causes.
The coroner disagreed with that. The coroner.
Which coroner are you talking about? The one the state put on?
Brenda died, the county coroner.
Okay.
Who said she was asphyxiated. So aren't her kids victims?
Okay, no. Do her kids feel like they're victims? No, they don't. They understand the truth. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about Brenda Dye for a second. Let's go back to that, because you said the coroner, and that is not even a true statement.
She originally ordered it as natural causes. You're right.
Oh, thank you, Nate. A fact, a true fact.
Then they exhumed her body the day before Alex died, which looks suspicious with Alex's death. They exhumed her body, and they said no, she had the marks.
Did you hear what you just said?
What?
Looks suspicious. Who exhumed her? Why did they exhume her when she had a natural death?
This is so clear to me that she has gone through and picked apart every little dynamic of the paperwork, the case, and it's coming back with each little thing, because as a whole, it's obvious. It's like, well, of course they exhumed her because y'all are killing everybody around you. They have more information to go back, but Lori's looking at like, well, no, they had natural causes here. That's all it was. So we're done. Boom, right?
So you're saying...
Why did they exhume her when she had a natural death? What was the explanation for exhuming her when she had a natural death from the coroner? The coroner said it. Why?
Because you and Chad were under investigation and they thought that you all might have killed her.
Why? Because of Heather Daybell and what she said at the very beginning and called you up to say? That's exactly where you're getting
it. That's where you're getting it. Heather Daybell.
I didn't say she called you. She called you through Detective Hope.
I didn't talk to Detective Hope at all.
Did you talk to Hermosillo?
I don't remember talking to Hermosillo. The tip I got when you were in Hawaii was from none of those people.
It was before we went to Hawaii. It's before you went to Hawaii. How'd you get a tip before you showed up in Hawaii? You obviously had a tip before you showed up in Hawaii.
We found out about this case when the police sent out a news release. And then somebody random, I still to this day don't know, and I swear to you, to this day, we got a Facebook message from an anonymous account with a GPS location of where you and Chad were.
She don't believe that for 1 second. She does not believe that for 1 second. She's like, what you talking about, Willis? You remember that show? I don't know what show was that. If you remember, drop it in the comment section. I used to love that show, but she was doing that moment right there. She didn't believe that for 1 second. And Nate giving her a little bit of tea, where he was like, well, this is how he found out where you were. Because again, remember, he was down there and it's like, how did you know, right? He got some insider information. Because keep in mind, Larry and Kay are like running around. Where are the kids, like something is wrong, we are sounding bells off, right? You know that people behind the scenes with Lori and them had to start being like, something's not good here. Like, something's not good.
No, you were in an interview with someone. I did see a tiny little piece of an interview. I think you had Hermosillo and someone in an interview, and they were saying, didn't someone call you up and say, this is going to be the biggest story of your life, Nate Eaton?
Oh, a police detective did tell me that, Eric. But it's not.
Who was it?
It's not the people that you named. It's a source. So
you're not going to tell me your source, but you know everything about me. But you're not going to tell me your source.
There's a lot I don't know about you, Lori. Back to the question of you don't feel bad. You're saying none of these people are victims.
I feel
Kay
bad,
and Larry
of course.
aren't victims. Brandon's not a victim.
No.
I mean, wow. And Nate being like, it's a source. It's a source. And then Lori over there, you know more about me. Well, yeah. The case study of deflection and denial in this is next level. Okay, next level, y'all. Loves every bit of it.
I'm not saying that people haven't had hard things happen to them in their life. Everyone has hard things happen to them in their life, right? The judicial system plays up the victim thing pretty big. Right? We've seen it happen. The people who lost their children, I lost my children. I lost them.
But because of what you did.
What did I do to them?
You arranged with Alex to conspire to kill them.
No, I did not.
And
Absolutely not. Absolutely
Did you know that they were in Chad's backyard?
Or No, I did not know that. I did not know where they were. Alex told me that he was put them in a safe place. That's what he told me.
So did you find out at the court, at the first trial? Is that the first time you'd seen those autopsy photos?
Yeah, I hadn't ever seen them. I never looked at them before that. Because that's not how I picture my children. I know where they are in heaven. I know what they're doing. They have come to visit me. So I don't see them as bones. If anybody dies and you go to a cemetery and you dig them up 9 months later, you're not going to like what you find. It's not going to be
They're not going to look like that, Lori. They're not going to
I'm
look
saying
like Tylee.
anybody isn't going to look like that. I'm saying once your spirit leaves your body and goes to heaven, okay? Because I died, right? When I was giving birth to Tylee, I died.
Yeah, the conversation, now where she died during giving birth to Tylee, anyone's going to look like that if you dig them up 9 months later. Again, just this carelessness of us. To me, what she's wanting to do is to deflect any guilt on this because she knows that it looks bad if she's like, it's terrible what happened to Tylee. Now, again, you listen to her right here. Alex said he put her in a safe place. I didn't know they were in the backyard. She definitely throws everyone under the bus around the whole thing. It's almost like without saying it. It's like, that was Chad and Alex. I wasn't there. I didn't do that. Alex just said that he needed that stuff back out of the storage unit, so we went and got it. What are you talking about? And then she's like switching the conversation over. I died. Everything always goes back to her being the main character in the scriptures that she thinks she's writing.
My spirit left my body. And guess what happened? When you're out of your body and you're your real self and your eternal self and who you are, you could care less what happens to your body. I've had that experience. Chad's had that experience. There's others that have had that experience. So the body dies. Everyone's dying, right? We're all going to die. Our bodies are all going to go back to the earth where they were from. And we carry on. We move on. So my children are in their eternity. They're doing well. They're happy. They're moving on. They don't want me to be sad. They came to me because they don't want me to be sad. They said, Mom, you didn't do anything wrong.
I got one last question for you.
Sure.
There's a lot of people that say I shouldn't have interviewed you. Well, they don't know I've interviewed you, but they say that you don't deserve a platform because of what you've done, what you've been found guilty of. Do they have a point?
In this unfair judicial system, Anybody could be found guilty of anything. And I would tell to the people, I would say, be careful who you're judging, because anybody could end up in orange.
I mean, the whole thing about the kids came to visit me, they said it was okay, but, and maybe in her world they did. You know, who knows, right? Now, Nate, I saw he posted this thing of somebody who wrote him, basically like kind of giving him a hard time about doing this interview and whatnot. You know, it is what it is. I, for one, like, as far as the answers I was looking for, did I get them? No. It's just more of the same stuff, but I'm glad that he did it. And I thought he was very professional.
You could be living your little life in the suburban bubble like I was, and anybody could end up in orange. Anybody, because they can turn this on anybody. There's women in here, beautiful, smart, intelligent women that have had their children die, and they're family tragedies, and they're not crimes. And the state has turned them into crimes, and they're not crimes. And what I got accused of and convicted of, just like the 3 Nephites, what crime did they commit?
This is the thing. Again, look at how much she props up her fellow inmates in comparison to her own kids. That part is so crazy to me. And again, the family tragedy, the family tragedy, the family tragedy, that's the key word for her, family tragedy. And she's just gonna keep screaming it.
That they got 7 death penalties for. What crime did they commit? That they got 7 death penalties for. I'm in good company. I'm in good company, and in heaven I will be in their company. And I didn't do anything that deserves this kind of punishment. But God did want me here. He did want me in here with these women. And he wanted me to lift and strengthen women and uplift them in these family tragedies. There's women in here that have suffered the same things I have. They've been here for years, waiting to go to trial. They haven't even gone to trial yet. But it's an unfair system, and they probably will get convicted. And then we'll see each other at the prison, and we'll uplift each other there until Jesus comes. And when he comes, he's going to set everybody in the prisons free.
I mean, she's on a roll. She is on a roll. And Nate's just sitting here like this. I love just that. What else could you do, right? Like, that's the hardest part. And I think if I was like legit in the situation, like if I was Nate, I mean, obviously I'm kind of dramatic and whatnot, I would be more afraid about obsessively yawning, because like that's just my thing. Like if it's too warm or tepid or whatever. So Lori could be saying this, and it would be just this natural body reaction where I'll be like, yeah, yep, totally good, keep going, yep. Right? I mean, literally. And it would just be so inappropriate, but I have to worry about that all the time anyways.
And all those who are unjustly and wrongfully convicted, like me and like these others, we will be walking free on this earth, and we will be walking with Jesus, and that's what we're going to do.
Okay, I have 15 cards, but I'm getting the wrap, so thank you, Lori, for chatting with me, and maybe we can chat again.
Maybe we can
time.
do it again sometime.
Okay. Thank you. Happy birthday. See ya.
M&M's. Can I have an M&M? No?
So let's just wrap this up. Overall, yes, glad Nate did this. Glad to see those hard-hitting questions. And it kind of gives us a litmus test for where she's at, even with the point blank, bam, here you go. Did you do this? Do you feel bad? We are completely denying. Now, circling back to the whole thing where, and I don't remember where I said it or whatever, where I was like, okay, she did the appeal. And that's what it was. It was the appeal video. That's normal, standard protocol, here we go. Now, on that note, like, what's next? Here's this. What's she going to do next? Will we keep hearing from her? Obviously sentencing, stuff like this. Well, then here we are, right? And so this tells me we're going to continue to see this behavior. We are going to continue to see her just try and be like internet fodder. Right? Now this right here, interviewing with Nate, is huge, okay? What else she could do? I mean, I predict we'll probably see some YouTube channels, and I'm not talking Colby, I'm talking like just random, not me, but like a YouTube channel with an interview. She's going to get desperate to get the story out, because the biggest thing that I have gleaned from this is that she is the center focal point of this story, and to her it is a story. It is not personal, it is not victims, she is literally in the process of being rewritten into a new Bible and rewriting the Bible and scriptures, or whatever you want to call it. And she is the star of the show, and everything else falls in line after. That is the most important dynamic here. So when she does not have an audience for this, it could be she does her book. But again, I mean, we've seen the interviews. I mean, as much as I'm down for like hearing from whatever, I don't think I could handle a book by her, because I think it would literally just be her trying to convince us us that this was God's way. Literally, however many pages it is, 300 or 10, that's all it would be. It's just her going on and on and on about that. But yeah, I think we're gonna see her doing YouTube kind of stuff in the way that you could, not on the thing, but like on the phone. Her little book, obviously filing motions from prison, whatever. But just like with these other cases, and maybe this one's a little bit different because of the impact and the enormity and the length of it, but she's going to disappear from people's minds. It's just like Sarah Boone, where Sarah had this whole thing going for years, and then she just kind of, it's just, they go away. And I don't think Lori can handle that because everything else is gone. At the end of the day, there's nothing left but this idea, this concept of her being the one, the whatever, the 144, the leader of it, whatever you want to call it. So anyways, this was a very long video. I know. I appreciate you if you're still watching. If you could, down in the comment section, number one, let me know your thoughts. But number two, while you're down there, drop off some little sofas for myself, Rosco and Spirit, Bo and Luke, and you, the Sofa Squad. So we'll all have a place to sit and talk about strange shaped pillows, Lori Daybell, Tiffany Slayton, and all the other weird, fun, interesting, sad, tragic things we do talk about in the comment section. And until we hang out down there and do that, I'll see y'all soon.
I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. And then like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Rosco on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hey, welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup that hey, come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough.